Let's hit record. Here we go. Parallel lines and transversals. Let's start with just a little bit of terminology here, okay? Do you need to write that down word for word? Not necessarily, but we are going to be talking about some parallel lines today. Of course, I'm going to assume we're pretty familiar with parallel lines that do not intersect. As we get onto more slides, I will show you some symbols that will indicate parallel lines for you, okay? But that's going to be one of the things we're going to look at. A transversal. With these parallel lines, you are going to notice another line running through them that we will refer to as a transversal. Now, transversal is a line that passes through two lines in the same plane. There's some of that geometric talk. At two distinct points. And you will see that. Okay, I think it'll make a little more sense once you see it. But that's what a transversal is. Tried to put it in simple terms. A line that passes through two lines, and today it'll be parallel lines, in the same plane at two distinct points. Okay? And guys, because of this transversal that's going to run through these parallel lines, it's going to create a lot of angles. Okay, and that's primarily what we're going to be looking at today is the relationships of these angles and what those relationships are. Okay, and then of course this word is going to get thrown around quite a bit. Congruence. Are things congruent? Do you have congruence? Congruence basically means having the same measure, shape, size. Okay. So congruence in kind of a similar way is saying equal, okay? But in geometry, you do hear that word quite a bit. You know, are the angles congruent? Are the sides congruent? Do these figures have congruence? Okay, so that is going to get thrown around, all right? But that's basically what it is, all right? Any questions thus far? We okay? Like I said, I'll give you a little time. I see some people still kind of jotting some things down. Like I said, if you want to kind of paraphrase it the way you want to say it, I tried to keep it pretty simple.
For the test, it's okay if I look over the test and see what I missed, and then just
We can. I got you. Okay. Let's go. Let's go to a diagram. This is roughly what you're going to see quite a bit today. All right. Let's talk about the picture. Parallel lines. Yep. What? Those little marks that I just circled in blue, that is your indication that those two lines are parallel, okay? This line's got two marks, two little arrows. This line's got two little arrows. This is line W. This is line Z. Those two lines are parallel. You will also notice down here at the bottom, those two little vertical bars, that is some more symbolism, if you will, that indicates parallel. W is parallel to Z. All right? So those are some indicators for parallel. The red line is your transversal. Okay? That is that line that goes through two lines at two distinct points. And notice that it has created 8 different angles. Okay? And that's what that transversal is going to do. There's going to be some talk about interior and exterior, all right? Exterior, of course, are going to be the angles that are on the outsides of those parallel lines, so to speak. So angles like 1, 2, 7, and 8. Those angles would be considered on the exterior of this figure. Interior, of course, is going to be what's on the inside of those parallel lines. Angles 3, 4, 5, and 6, all right? So, but those are, again, some of the terminology that's going to be used with some of these concepts right here. So I thought the picture did a pretty good job of illustrating and kind of explaining things. So, but parallel lines, transversal, symbolism that will indicate parallel lines, and then where your interior and exterior are. So if we're talking about interior angles here, interior angles, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Everybody good with that? Okay, I mean, kind of makes sense, right? Okay. Same picture. Every one of these slides is going to have the same picture. So if we're talking about exterior angles, angles on the outside, what were they? What were the exterior angles?
1, 2, 7, 8.
1, 2, 7, and 8. Those are going to be the angles on the outside of those parallel lines. Okay? Okay. Consecutive interior angles are supplementary. Consecutive interior angles are supplementary. So there's that word interior. So we're looking inside the parallel lines. Consecutive means back to back, basically. Okay? Let me show you where the consecutive interior angles are. 4 and 6. Whoops. 4 and 6 would be consecutive interior angles. Okay? 3 and 5 would be consecutive interior angles. Consecutive interior angles are supplementary, meaning those two angles should add to 180 degrees, right? And if you kind of look at that, if you kind of look at 4 and 6, you look at 3 and 5, kind of makes sense. Angle 4 appears to be less than 90. That would be acute. Where angle 6 is obtuse, greater than 90. So those two angles together should give you 180 degrees. They are supplementary. And the same thing with 3 and 5. So consecutive interior angles are supplementary. Okay? And that's what we're going to get a lot of here, these different terminologies that describe these different angles. And that's what I'm going to try to go through here and kind of show you. Okay? Consecutive interior. We okay with that? Am I good with consecutive interior? Consecutive interior. Consecutive. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Now, alternate is going to tell you that these angles are on opposite sides of the transversal. So a pair of alternate interior angles would be 4 and 5. Angles 4 and 5 would be considered alternate interior, meaning inside the parallel lines. Alternate interior angles are congruent. They should have the same measure. They should have the same shape. Angles 3 and 6 are also alternate interior angles. Okay? Everybody okay with that? So lots of lingo here. Everybody good? Am I progressing at an okay pace here? Do I need to slow down? Okay, there we go. Well, all right. Let's go to the next one. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So this time, again, alternate is going to tell you, look, these angles are going to be on opposite sides of the transversal. Exterior is going to tell us that we're on the outside of the parallel lines. And so exterior angles are congruent. So we're talking about like angle 2 and angle 7. Angle 2 and angle 7 would be considered alternate exterior. And those angles should be of the same measure, should be of the same shape, should be of the same size, so to speak. What would be another pair of alternate exterior? There you go. 1 and 8. Angle 1 and angle 8 would also be considered alternate exterior angles. And those angles are congruent. So if angle 1 was 30 degrees, you know that angle 8 is 30 degrees. Okay? So again, just kind of starting to recognize these characteristics, and what's true about some of these angles and their relationship with the transversal and parallel lines. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are congruent. Now, corresponding is going to talk to us about same side of the transversal, okay? So corresponding angles. Some corresponding angles would be angle 2, angle 6. Angle 4, angle 8. Angle 1, angle 5 would be corresponding. What's the last set of corresponding angles that I didn't mark yet? 3 and 7. Yep. 3 and 7 would be corresponding. So corresponding, again, is going to talk to you that, hey, we're talking about the same side of the transversal. Okay? Looks like they kind of skip one, so to speak. 2 and 6, 4 and 8, 1 and 5, 3 and 7. Okay? But those angles, that relationship, those angles should be congruent, of the same size, of the same shape, of the same measure. Corresponding? Okay, vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent. Vertical angles are congruent. Okay? Now, vertical angles, angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles. They share kind of a common vertex, if you will. Okay? And when I talk about vertex, it's going to be this point right here. They're kind of back to back, if you will, opposite of each other. Again, that's where, honestly, my lack of teaching geometry, I'm probably not using super terminology, but as you can see, those vertical angles are congruent. 2 and 3 would be vertical too, wouldn't they? So angle 2 and angle 3 would be vertical. So if you know angle 2, you know angle 3. If you know angle 1, you know angle 4. What's another set of vertical angles that you see?
6 and 7.
6 and 7, that's right. 6 and 7. And 5 and 8. Try to do some different colors there. Those are vertical angles. Guys, vertical angles are congruent, okay? All right, so it's just kind of learning these relationships of these different angles based, again, on the transversal with the parallel lines. And it's almost kind of a little, and you'll kind of find that today. It'll be kind of a little bit of a puzzle with some of these you put together as far as, hey, if I know that angle, then I know that angle, then I can get that angle. And then you just kind of start working around the figure. But you can figure all these angle measures out based on these relationships. Okay? Everybody good? Okay. So this is some of the material I wasn't able. There's a few different things, but it all kind of interrelates. Okay. So these are some of the things you're going to do. They're going to ask you to describe the relationship of some angles. They're going to give you some angles. You've got a diagram here. If you look at the diagram, here are your marks right there that tell you that the two lines are parallel. You do have a couple of transversals that run through here. Okay, all right. So we've created all those relationships via those transversals. If we look at angles 1 and 6, if we go to angle 1 and angle 6, what kind of angles are those? Those are vertical angles, right? So for angles 1 and 6, you would say vertical. Those are vertical angles, okay? And again, now we get to go try to recognize these types of relationships based on what we just kind of talked about. If we look at angles 5, let me do a different color here. If we go to angle 5 and 7, what kind of angles are those? They're on the same side of the transversal, kind of skips one. Looks like 5 and 7 would be corresponding. Now, both those angles are obtuse. They are obtuse, so that is true. 5 and 7 will be congruent because corresponding angles are congruent, but specifically 5 and 7, we're going to call those corresponding. Okay? Angles 14 and 15. So 14's here, 15's here. Those angles are on the inside of the parallel line, so we're talking about interior here, and they're back to back. They're right next to each other. You remember that one? So 14 and 15, inside the parallel lines. They're back to back. Consecutive is one right after the other. Consecutive interior angles. Okay? But there's going to be a section where they're going to give you a couple of angle measures. You're going to go describe the relationship you had there. And I think in the directions, they give you the terminology to use. So if you got it there in your notes, great. If not, I think it's there in the directions. So you'll have that verbiage there to choose from. Okay? But that's what you'll do in one of the sections. Everybody, any questions? Everybody okay with that? Good? We good? We good? We good? See a couple people still writing. What do you got, Maya? Consecutive interior angles. Consecutive interior angles. I kind of abbreviated. Sorry. Consecutive interior angles. Okay. There will be another section where there, again, you'll be able to go find angle measures here, okay? And so you'll have, a figure. I think this is one of them. I think there's another one that's a little more involved. But basically, it's kind of putting that puzzle together. If you take a look here, again, there's your indicators. You've got parallel lines. We do have a transversal running through there. We do know one angle measure right here. They give us this 45-degree angle right there. Now, based on that 45-degree angle, I should be able to come up with all the other angle measurements, right? If I know that this angle's 45, what's angle 7 going to be? 45, because vertical angles are congruent, right? So if 45 if this angle's 45, I know that angle 7 is going to be 45. Because vertical angles are congruent, okay? I also know that alternate interior angles are congruent. Alternate, again, talks about opposite sides of the transversal. So this 45-degree angle and angle 4 are alternate interior angles. So angle 4 should also be 45. If angle 4 is 45, what should angle 1 be? 45, because vertical angles are congruent. So again, we're using these characteristics of these angles based on the transversal and the parallel lines to be able to do this, okay? Again, take a look at this too. 4 and 7 are corresponding. They should be the same. Angle 1 and this 45-degree angle are corresponding. Those are congruent, so we're getting some consistency here. Now take a look at this. If you take a look at angle 1 and angle 2, this kind of goes back to yesterday or the other day on Monday. This is a straight line that's divvied up into two angles, and a straight angle should equal what? How many degrees? 180. And if I know that part of that 180 is 45, how would you find this other part? That's right. So 180 minus 45, I believe, is what? 135? So angle 2 is 135. So we're kind of going back to what we saw the other day. We've got a straight angle there. We've got two angles that are going to make up that 180. We do the subtraction, boom, 135. Well, if angle 2 is 135, what's angle 3? 135, because vertical angles are congruent. Angle 2 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. They're on the same side of the transversal. We kind of skip one, so to speak. 2 and 5 are corresponding. Corresponding angles are congruent. So if angle 2 is 135, angle 5 is 135. And if angle 5 is 135, what's angle 6? 135, because vertical angles are congruent. And that's it, isn't it? We got them all. So, you know, depending on the figure they give you, okay, based on these characteristics, again, transversal with parallel lines, you create these relationships of these angles, and so you can just, once you know an angle measure someplace, you can start to kind of work your way through this figure based on, you know, vertical angles corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, okay? Once we kind of familiarize ourselves with those characteristics, it's really not bad, but sometimes it's a lot to look at. The visual presentation sometimes is what makes it difficult, going, oh my gosh, that looks nasty, okay? But we just kind of systematically kind of work through there. Start with the easy stuff first. Guys, vertical angles are pretty easy. When you start recognizing vertical angles, those are easy to get, okay? You know, and I think that was one of the other figures, but I think I'll put that on there just to kind of show you. I mean, these are the types of things you're going to see today, okay? So, again, trying to recognize those relationships. The transversals create those relationships of those angles, but I think it's just a matter of you just kind of get in and starting to work with it, get familiar with it. Again, that's all we're trying to do right now. Get you familiar with some of these concepts that are going to come your way in the fall or whenever it is that you take geometry. So, not too shabby. It's just a little bit different, kind of a new lingo, if you will. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, well, I'm going to stop.